What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. I want to thank you guys for joining me for another replay battle. Today I've got a 3 versus 3 on the dry lake bed on patch 0.95. Hooray, it's finally out! So without any further ado, let's get into the army comps and then to the replay itself. I hope you guys enjoy it. The first army we're going to be looking at today is the forces of Rhun, being commanded by this guy with a thoroughly inappropriate name. We've got a unit of Kummel's Dragon Knights, 2 units here of the Loke Ines Rim, and of course we've got the full complement of the Golden Boys infantry on his main line. We have 1 or 2 units there of the Scion Rim, a couple units of Gamp Rim, and of course 3 units of Loke Flag Rim. That's a lot of AP right there, and in tandem with the Campbell's Shadow Guard, it really ensures that this runic force is going to be great at breaking apart heavily armored opponents. Over on his skirmish line, we got 2 units of East Rhun crossbowmen, backed up with a single unit of East Rhun Hunters. And last but certainly not least, we have a unit here of the Campbell's Chosen, who are very, very tanky infantry indeed. I believe they have about 8 shield value, really high melee defense, a little bit lower on the damage side of things since they wield scimitars instead of a regular longsword. But because of that, they do get a +2 to their melee defense, so excellent little tar pit unit that can really deal some decent damage back in return. But moving on now to his ally, this is one of the more interesting armies on the field. This is a very heavy support army from Harad. I believe he's got about 8 or so archer units, 3 units here of the Harad Archers, 3 units of South Rhun Archers, a couple units of the Hashari Stalkers who are hiding around somewhere here, I believe on either wing. And he's also got a couple units of the mounted Hashari Stalkers as well, in addition to which he's got 2 units here of the Serpent Guard Medium Lancers and a single unit of the Black Serpent Bodyguard, who are the Serpent Guard dialed up to 11. These guys have a really nice charge bonus and 2 HP to boot, making them extremely survivable. His infantry line, as a consequence, is very, very thin on the ground indeed. He's got a couple units here of the Muhad Beast Hunters, and I believe the requisite 2 units of Trollmen of Harad. They're going to see pretty well standard in a lot of Haradrim armies, I think, if they're serious about winning an infantry fight. In any case, moving on now to their ally, the third and final member of the blue team, we have the forces of Lorien, being commanded by Sir Donald Trump. Actually, I think I forgot to mention who was commanding the Harad forces. That would be War Celtic, one of our testers. But yeah, moving on now. Lothlorien being commanded by Sir Donald Trump. He's got a couple units of Lothlorien Blades, 1 unit of the Guardians of Karis Galadon, who are an interesting unit. It is the only pike unit available to Lothlorien, but they are extremely elite with 2 HP and a ton of damage. So in a choke point, in a siege, for example, these guys are extremely useful, but they are also very good for anchoring a line as well, and I believe that they inspire units around them to greater feats of courage. Mixed in with his catapult, he's also got a unit of Galadrim Nobles, which is, I would say they're a ranged bodyguard. They're really more of a ranged elite supremacy unit. And they've also got, I believe, a unit of Sindar Archers hiding out in here somewhere as well. Yes, indeed, there they are, the Sindar Archers. A couple units as well, the Sylvan Spears, 1, I believe, units of Lothlorien Warriors. He's got 1 unit of the Mounted Company, 1 unit of the Galadrim Riders, a lot of really elite HP Galadrim units here, and as a consequence, his force is extremely small. But I think he's also got maybe some Axemen, like some Lothlorien Axemen as well mixed in here somewhere. But, yeah, I think that's just about it for the Lothlorien force. So let's go ahead and let's see what Team Red is bringing to the battle today. Across the field from Lothlorien, we have the forces of Gondor being commanded by Boy DC95. He's got a unit here of Ramsekor Garrison, which I believe is his only unit. A couple units of Citadel Guard, I believe 3 units in the center of his Gondor Spearmen, 2 units of Guards of Osgiliath. Actually, I think he only has maybe 1 unit of the Citadel Guard, who are really strong, AP Spears. I mean, you can't go wrong there. In terms of cavalry, he's got some unlocalized placement text. I think this is just my version of it. They are the Peneth Galen Riders, and that name has been implemented basically since early on in the testing period. So this should not be showing up for you guys, but for whatever reason, my build is a little bit weird. But in any case, he's got 2 units of the Peneth Galen Riders, who are very much a replacement for the Gondor Knights, who have been lost and are now only usable in scenarios. And over here, we've got a unit of Gandalf's Retinue Bodyguard, with of course, Gandalf as the officer, and this is also going to be where the Gondor General is hanging out. Moving on now to the rest of the infantry, got a unit here of the Cariandros Swordmasters, 3 units of Gondor Infantry, 1 unit of Trebuchet, 1 unit of Shielded Fountain Guard, who are terrifying! They are very strong, have a high bonus against cavalry, higher than average, since they are a Spear Bodyguard, and they're AP. Not something you want to play around with. Oh yeah, they've got 2 HP as well, if all of that wasn't enough. Over in the center, 2 units of Gondor Archers, And that just about does it for the Gondorian forces. So let's move on now to their closest ally, which I believe is the forces of Lindon, being commanded by Rules. And I believe he's got 2 units here of the Harad Guard, who are a really nice unit. They've got a little bit less range than your average Elven Archer, and I think they've got 2 less ammunition, but they have 5 shield value. So they are extremely tanky, much tankier than most of the other Lindon Archers. But on his second line here, he's got 3 units, the full complement of 4 Lindon Marines, and they're going to be backing up a lot of 4 Lindon Pikemen. And out front here, we've got, I believe, 3 units of the 4 Lindon Archers, looking like 3 units. Not a lot of Harlindon infantry, though. That's a bit surprising to me. Usually you see the 4 Lindon pikes matched with the Harlindon infantry since they can block arrow fire. So this is a bit of a risky move here, but I think he's really doubled down on his skirmishing forces, and he's going to be relying on them to try and defend his front line from the skirmishers of enemies. But he does have to face Harad, and Harad has a nearly overwhelming number of skirmishers, so this might not pay off for him terribly well. But in any case, moving on to his cavalry, a couple units here of the Wardens of Harlindon, and 1 unit of the Noldoran Horse Lords. Now, I think there's a hidden unit of the Wardens of Elostirion around here as well, and they are very good. Oh yeah, very, very strong. Elven Rangers with high accuracy and really high range as well. That's something you want to mess with. Moving on now to the third and final Red Team army, we have the forces of Cardolan, being commanded by Apollo 11. And he's got a couple units of Minas Tirith Archers, 2 units of Green Watch Garrison Archers, rather. 2 units of Minas Tirith Spearmen, 3 units of Minas Tirith Swordsmen forming his center infantry line. A couple units of Minas Tirith Sharpshooters, getting real good at saying that. 1 unit here of the Hearthguard of Amansul, 1 unit of the Royal Court of House Thorondor, 1 unit of Dunedain Commanders, a catapult, and I think he's got some cav hidden over here as well, some Tharbad Riders. Love the Tharbad Riders, they look excellent. I think these units were made by Cardolan, but yeah, they are very, very deadly with the highest charge bonus that you can achieve as a cavalry unit, that being 8 and 20 charge bonus. 8 initial damage and 20 charge bonus as well. I think he might have some hidden Dunedain Rangers in here as well. He's really gone heavy on his skirmish forces, which is a risky move against Rhun. The AP skirmishers, of course, will do really well, but most of these lower tier archers here, or units like the Minas Tirith Archers, don't really have the punch needed to cut their way through the Scion Rim or the Flag Rim and things like that. Some of the Shield units rather will stand up very nicely. But in any case, that's it for the army comps. Let's go ahead and let's get into the replay. The battle is going to begin as any good battle does, with some really aggressive play here on the part of the cavalry of the blue team. They're moving forward, looking like they want to harass some of the runic cavalry out of position. It looks like they're doing a pretty good job in accomplishing that. And you can see some of those Enos Rim going to be taking some fire from the rear and from the flank, and claim the lives of a couple of those cataphracts. Very unfortunate. They marched a very long way, trading their whole lives, only to get cut down in the opening moments of the battle. Sucks to be them. Over here, though, it looks like Rhun is going to respond in kind with a volley from his crossbows. Oh, that is really going to hurt those lightly armored Lindon units. Ooh, very, very deadly indeed. A lot of those Wardens of Harlindon are going to fall very quickly. Oh, wow. Just so much damage being done there by those crossbows. It was definitely a mistake to leave them as long as he did within range of those Easterling archers. Kashari Shadows over here as well, lending a little bit of support to their ally Rhun. We'll be firing now into those Wardens of Harlindon. These guys are very, very deadly, but they are extremely lightly armored. They're one of the few horse archers in the game that have a body-piercing bonus. So on the flanks, firing into mass ranks of lightly armored infantry, even heavily armored infantry can suffer quite grievously when they're taking flank fire from these guys, but they are very fragile and quite expensive as a result. You can see the Wardens of Harlindon definitely giving as good as they get in this exchange. Over on this end, what do we have over here? Some of the Lothlorien cavalry moving forward, being very aggressive indeed. So we have some hidden Forlindon scouts and some Wardens of Elostirion here who are going to get revealed by the Lothlorien Mounted Company. A very fortuitous kind of development here for the forces of Lothlorien. And Rules, wanting to save his Wardens of Elostirion, is gonna pull them out of there and have them flee back towards the safety of the Lindon pike formations. The Lothlorien Mounted Company, though, doing very, very well. I think Rules finally realized what was happening to his poor 4 Lindon scouts, and now he's going to be able to pull them out of there. He's going to have to be careful, though. He can't have his scouts flee entirely, because those Lothlorien Mounted Company will run down his expensive and deadly Wardens of Elostirion. So now he has to screen a little bit here for his archers as they flee. Looks like Gondor is going to be the one to try and answer the call to aid here. moving in support of his ally rules. But I think now would be a good time to try and pull his cavalry back, because they're just going to get skirmished down there by the Galadrim riders, and Rules is already clear of that engagement with both his cavalry and his archers, so there's no need for Gondor to be moving forward and sticking their neck out this far, at least, this early in the game. Oh man, those poor Peneth Galen riders really taking a beating there, and now the Lothlorien mounted company going to turn around and potentially charge into the rear of these guys. Boy, DC really making a huge error here and letting these guys get charged in the rear and skirmish down the way that he has. Let's move on over to the fight here between Cardolan and Rhun. Oh man, it's really looking interesting. It looks like Cardolan actually had a couple units here of the hidden Gwathlo archers, and the Ynez Rim have managed to charge home hard into those archer companies. They've done a lot of damage so far, but the Dunedain commanders moving in, not going to let these guys slaughter their troops and go unanswered. The Ynez Rim are going to find themselves very swiftly overwhelmed. Over here, Tharbad riders going for a big charge against Easterron crossbows. Not a bad idea. So we got some Ynez Rim and some Camel's Dragon Knights, however, going to be hot on their heels, chasing them away from their vulnerable crossbows. Ooh, that could have been real bad to the Tharbad riders. We're thinking possibly about routing, although Apollo managed to get them clear at the last moment. Looks like the Royal Courts of House Thorondor moving in to join the Tharbad riders. They're both going to flee in the face of the advance of the runic cataphracts. Looks like Apollo is very much throwing his archers under the bus, using them basically as bait in order to get some nice cycle charges here into the runic cav. And a big charge from the Dunedain commanders, going to slice right through those Ynez Rim. However, reinforcements are going to arrive at a very timely moment. That's going to be enough to rout one of those Gwathlo archer units and deal some damage in turn to the Dunedain commanders. Now the Cardolan cavalry is basically in full retreat. Well, Tharbad riders need to be careful there. We got a nice charge off into the Camel's Dragon Knights, managed to kill quite a few of them. Now they are going to be forced to flee. Oh, and the Cardolan forces still very well placed, I think, to deal some serious damage to the Easterling cataphracts. And it looks like Lindon now moving in with their Wardens of Harlandon in order to harass the rear of the runic cataphracts as they move towards the Cardolan lines. What do we got here? Minas Tirith archers taking a big charge from the front, although Apollo definitely on top of things. And these runic cataphracts are going to find themselves sandwiched in a big way between spears and infantry and cavalry lancers from the rear. Camel's Dragon Knight's going to try and bully their way out of there. This is really the only option they have left, is to try and push their way through. However, the Minas Tirith archers and the Minas Tirith swordsmen are not going to let them get through so easily. The Ynez Rim have really taken some heavy casualties. The Dragon Knights as well, down now to 19. Let's see how things are going over here in the center. It looks like the Haradrim have gotten into an extended skirmish fight here with the forces of Lindon. They're slowly but surely managing to overwhelm the archer companies here, though there are still a lot of these Fort Lindon archers standing, and they're definitely going to make the Haradrim pay quite a grievous toll as they engage the forces of Lindon. Over here, mounted company of Lothlorien is now joined up with the Serpent Guard of Harad, and they are moving towards a very juicy target indeed. The Wardens of Elos Tyrion is going to be all the rules can do to try and keep these guys alive. Looks like they're going to change target at the last moment, go for the Harlandon Guard, or possibly for the rear of these pike units. Looks like they're going to be going for the Forlindon Marines. There's a lot of spears here, however. A lot of hybrid spear units from Lindon. Might make those Serpent Guard pay pretty grievously in the exchange. Some nice javelin volleys there from the Forlindon Marines. And our counter charge from the Harlandon Guard give me enough, I think, to see these Lothlorien cavalry off. Serpent Guard charging back in. They're going to take a javelin volley to the face. Many of them are going to fall. They're going to find themselves face to face with some highly trained hybrid spear units here from Lindon. This is really not looking like it's paying off the way that Harad wants it to. Ooh, some more Serpent Guard falling there to a volley of javelins. They're going to narrowly miss getting clipped by a second. Harlandon Guard doing their best here to run cover for the Forlindon Javelins. Big javelin volley there into the Black Serpent Bodyguard. Definitely shaving off some HP and killing a few of those units. Ooh, another javelin volley there into these guys. Oh, how's that going to fare for them? Oh, a lot of them are going to drop there real quick. Yeah, now down into their late teens. Harlandon Guard still very healthy over here, although it looks like they finally managed to get a piece of those Wardens of Elos Tyrion. That's not great for rules. These guys are really expensive, and they've taken some pretty grievous casualties so far. Something's going on the main line here with Cardolan. Oh, we're seeing a lot of breaking. Looks like the Runic forces managed to surround them. Definitely getting the better of the Cardolan forces. I think it would have been wiser for the Cardolan units to hang back a little bit and fight a little bit closer to their ally. And Rhun definitely at home in this kind of fight. They've got a lot of AP, and it's going to enable them to cut their way through the heavily armored forces of Cardolan here under Apollo 11. Yeah, things not looking so great. Looks like Rhun is going to be able to push their way through there. Although a lot of these Cardolan forces are still reasonably healthy. We're probably going to see a little bit of reforming eventually. But, well, what do you know? An ace in the hole here. Cardolan is well positioned to really cut a bloody swath through the forces of Rhun with their AP missiles up there on the hill. And, of course, with some counter charges here from the Dune Knight commanders. Although not very well coordinated, they were attacking the same unit that those crossbows were firing into, and of course a lot of those Dune Knight commanders are going to fall as a result. Looks like Lindon has managed to deal with the forces, or the cavalry forces of both Harad and Lorien. I see a lot of dead cavalrymen here, and I don't think there's too many left over. Oh, what do you know? There's some Serpent Bodyguard back here, hacking their way through the routing forces of Apollo 11, making sure that none of these units are going to reform. Looks like some Dune Knight commanders. I thought they were coming to the rescue, but in fact they are just routing, and they're going to run right through the Black Serpent Bodyguard. Still got some Tharbad riders here that could make a difference. As Black Serpents choosing a better target there than the rear of the Hearthguard of Amonsul. That would definitely be an ugly thing for them. Serpent Guard here going for the catapult, finally trying to get a piece of that catapult, but there are a lot of Lindon units nearby, and they're going to be able to move in almost immediately and push back those Serpent Guard. Meanwhile, the Tharbad riders coming in from the rear, maybe going to get a piece of one of those Serpent Guard. No, indeed they are not. Too tired and too slow. They're not able to keep pace with these swift medium lancers. Over here on the main battle line, Cardolan has been absolutely devastated here. They're really down to a lot of their archer companies now, and Rhun is still extremely healthy in the infantry line. Over on this end, looks like some of the Cataphracts and the remaining Dragon Knights trying to get a piece of those Minas Garithlan sharpshooters. Still very healthy, though. Easily 200 or so crossbowmen here. And that's going to be a real ugly thing for Rhun, indeed. If they can put some enfilading fire into this body of Runic troops here, oh my goodness, they will fall like dry grass. What do we got over here? Looks like Lindon moving in now, trying to support his allies. Lindon and Cardolan working together could probably beat Rhun, I would think, but they still, of course, have their allies to deal with. But let's pop back over to the Gondor side of things. Definitely haven't seen too much from Gondor. It looks like we got here just in time. The Lothlorien warriors charging into the Gondor spearmen. Over here we have the Citadel Guard fighting the Sylvan Spears. Now, this is not the greatest fight for the Citadel Guard, surprisingly enough. These Sylvan Spears have very high melee defense. Not a lot of armor, though, so not a lot of an opportunity for the AP of the Citadel Guard to really do the really be used to the great effect that it could otherwise be against some of the more heavily armored units, like the Lothlorien Blades, for example. Over here we have a combination of, I believe, Wardens of the White Tower? No, looks like it's just Ramesek or Garrison fighting against the Lothlorien Blades. That's not even going to be a fun contest. The Lothlorien Blades will win that fight very handily. Still a lot of Gondor reserves left to pick up the swords and spears that the Gondor mainline infantry leave behind. A lot of these very elite units really going to be a big problem, I think, for some of the more heavily armored Elven units from Lothlorien. Ooh, a very nice shot there from that trebuchet into the Sylvan Spears might be enough to rout them. But as I was saying, Lothlorien warriors here being backed up by the Caris Galathon Guardians. Gondor Spearmen really not going to have a chance to do too much to these guys unless they start committing some of their elite companies. Now, Gondor really making a very strange mistake here. They've got the forces to surround the elves and to beat them down quite heavily, but they're really not taking advantage of that. Now, there's a lot of exposed infantry units out here as well. These Galadrim nobles really just begging to be run down by the Gandalf's retinue bodyguard, but it seems like the Gondor player is a little bit paralyzed by inaction, and that is very, very unfortunate to see indeed. Over here you can see some of the Muhad Beasthamers have moved in. They're really doing a number on the guards of Osgiliath. Gondor is just being way too passive here, and they're going to find themselves very quickly overwhelmed. This is a fight that Gondor, I think, can win, and can win quite handily, but they're really just kind of sitting there, and it's a bit unfortunate to see. Moving back over to the other end, some of the Haradrim forces here engaged with some of the forces of Apollo 11, looking like some of these Minas Tirith units have recently reformed, and they are holding up their Haradrim as best as they can. The Haradrim infantry skirmishers still fairly numerous. A lot of that powerful Haradrim infantry still kicking around as well. And it looks like Rhun is going to find themselves surrounded, potentially overwhelmed here by the combined forces of Lindon and all the remains of Cardolan. We've got some crossbows here that really, I think, should be moved up a little bit. Now, there is a great opportunity to blow away these Lokamp Rim, but I think I saw them firing over the hill, and I don't understand why they would do that. I don't know why they wouldn't move up a little bit more. This is a fight, again, that these players are capable of winning, but for whatever reason, they don't seem to be able to. Let's pop back over to see how Gondor is managing to fare now that some of the Haradrim have moved in to support the Elves of Lothlorien. Yeah, finally those Guards of Osgiliath are moving in, but after they've already taken critical casualties. 2 artillery pieces going at it there. The Elves of Lothlorien Catapult definitely having more success so far than the Gondor Trebuchet. Some javelin volleys going in to the center here with those Carandros Swordmasters doing their best to hold back the Elves of Lothlorien. It looks like some of the Muhad Beast Hunters have now changed their attention to the Gondor Archers, who are still very healthy. And those Gondor Archers are really doing a number on the Muhad Beast Tamers. Muhad's Beast Tamers trying to return the favor, but ultimately that is a fight that the Gondor Archers are going to win. Oh yeah, look at them, just falling apart here. Looks like Lindon's general just fell in battle to some South-run archers. Very unfortunate for Lindon. They are very high morale elves though, so they shouldn't flee. I hear some Galadrim riders charging in to try and help out the Lothlorien Blades here against what remains of the Ramasekor garrison and the Gondor infantry that have now been committed to try and hold the line against the Lothlorien Blades. But now with the addition of some Trollmen of Harad, and it looks like some Maethar Las Galan, a javelin unit, I believe, from the elves, can be enough to overwhelm the Gondor right wing. And now finally the cavalry is springing into action, but they're going to be springing into action against these spear units. Again, I don't understand the passivity here by the Gondor player. And there's still a lot of infantry left. He could be using them to great effect right now, but he's kind of being too cautious, holding them in reserve and not really doing anything with them when the situation is very much critical on his front lines. Yeah, more Trollmen of Harad rushing in, and that's going to very, very quickly see an end to this Gondor front line. Shielded Fountain Guard here in the center going to do a number on the Muhad Beast Tamers and against Lothlorien Warriors. Yeah, that is a fight that they should handily win. More Haradrim moving in, yet more Lothlorien Archers being brought forward. Looks like they had a unit of the Heavy Archers as well. Looks like I missed that in the opening phase. But there's really nowhere in this fight that Gondor seems to be winning, except perhaps where the Shielded Fountain Guard are right now. They will definitely exact a very heavy toll. But yeah, another unit of Gondor infantry here has a perfect opportunity to charge in against the Trollmen of Harad. Definitely has enough infantry units here to surround these blobs. Still, even at this late point, he can potentially pull it back, but he's just not doing what he needs to do. Popping back over to the other end, it looks like the Minas Tirith sharpshooters now out of ammunition, fighting hard against the Flag Rim. They're going to find themselves a little bit surrounded here. The East-Run Hunters coming in from the rear. Although I think that the Minas Tirith sharpshooters have what it takes to beat down what remains of the Loke Flag Rim. There are some Lindon forces coming in as well to possibly complete an encirclement here and finally put the nail in the coffin of Rhun's army. But Cardolan losing his general. Oh, that is bad news, Bears. Let's see how these Minas Tirith sharpshooters react to that. Oh, man. Could see some routing here, especially with those Black Serpent bodyguards charging in from the rear. Oh, my goodness. Massive rout here. Catastrophic failure for the forces of Cardolan as their units now begin to flee off the battlefield. And that's going to leave Rhun in charge of this end. And basically all of these armies wiped out, so it is now down to Gondor, who is finally moving in with some of his infantry, but honestly, it's far too late for that. Trollmen of Harad, strangely enough, actually losing a little bit here. Yeah, Gandalf's retinue bodyguard, still healthy. They could be used in the hammer and anvil attacks or something, but Gondor is really just kind of throwing away the advantages that they had. Ashari Shadows looks like they tried to get a frontal charge on the Gondor infantry. Oh my goodness. Oh, one guy, that poor unlucky bastard. But yeah, those Ashari Shadows charging into the front of infantry like that's not really going to do a whole lot. Although now that they're firing back, it's a good opportunity to show off that beefy arrow. You can see multiple units getting hit, and several of them dying as well. So just a small unit of those horse archers, but again, very fragile, but you don't want them behind you by any means. Gondor now being overwhelmed on their front lines. Unit of Lorien blades charging into the Citadel Guard. That might be enough to rout them. That's basically going to be it. Ooh, a nice catapult volley there. A very strange charge here from the Gandalf's retinue bodyguard, who spent far too much time fighting that unit of Maethir Elas Galan when they had better targets to go after. Looks like they're finally going to move in, maybe try at least one hammer and anvil charge. Another nice shot there from the Lothlorien catapult. Going to be enough to take out a couple more of those bodyguard. Now the Gandalf's retinue bodyguard have just been ground down through sheer attrition. Over here in the center, though, the Fountain Guard really holding it down, cutting a bloody swathe through the forces of Lothlorien and the Harad Rim. But it's not going to be enough. There's too many of the elves left, not enough of the Gondorians. We hear the Trollmen of Harad being poked to death by the Guards of Osgiliath, mixed in there with some Gondor archers. And a very sad-looking unit of Gandalf's retinue bodyguard. Over on this end, more Haradrim reinforcements, some Trollmen of Harad moving into the Gondorian backlines. Hashari Shadows here charging into the flank of the Gondor infantry, trying to rout them, which they may end up doing successfully here. Oh yeah, they're definitely going to. Oh, maybe not. Gondorians pulling it back. Trollmen of Harad coming in from the rear, going to charge into the Guards of Osgiliath, trying to relieve some of the pressure on their brothers. I don't know what these Gandalf's retinue bodyguard are doing. Yeah, some very strange plays from the Gondor player. I think they might be a little bit new. Now those Trollmen of Harad are going to be able to sandwich those Guards of Osgiliath between the Lothlorien Spearmen and the remaining other unit of Trollmen of Harad. That is basically going to be all she wrote, I think, for Gondor. Yeah, finally seeing a little bit of breaking here. Some of the Gondor infantry begins to break and run. Surprisingly enough, these guys are fighting on against overwhelming odds. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward a little bit here. Witness the end here. The final collapse for Gondor. Some of the Gandalf's retinue bodyguard getting sandwiched by the Black Serpent bodyguard. A catapult indiscriminately firing into the Guards of Osgiliath. Completely heedless. They've definitely won the game at this point, and that's going to be 96-81. A very solid victory for the blue team. And a lot of that, I think, was down to some of the decisions that the other team made. Having the Minas Tirith sharpshooters, for example, fire over a hill instead of getting a clear line of sight was definitely a mistake made on the part of the Cardolan forces. Being a bit too aggressive, especially against an infantry AP-focused faction like Rhun in the infantry fight, really cost them the game on their end. And Gondor really just, they didn't seem to know quite what to do. They had a lot of opportunities to, I think, handily beat the Elves of Lothlorien, but they just didn't really seem to capitalize on them. So great game to everyone play. Some mistakes were made, of course, but you know it happens in every game. And of course, we just live and learn, essentially. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll be seeing you again in another battle replay a little bit later today. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.